I know that ain't who I think it is.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
Well, that Shedeur Sanders, or was that Lamar Jackson? Shedeur Sanders going viral, out there putting that work in. Baby, roll wrong. Shedeur Sanders is working on his speed while he's off getting ready for training camp. Shedeur Sanders just may be. Boy, look here. Don't make me say.
He's already been counted out once. Now he's doing it again. And this time, an entire franchise is watching. Nobody expected this. Not this soon, not like this. Because right now, in the middle of a hot July, before pads are even on, before training camp has even opened its doors, Shedeur Sanders is already trending. Not because of a press conference, not because of a highlight reel from last season, but because someone caught him working out, sprinting, grinding, chasing something most people can't even see yet, and the internet did what the internet always does. It exploded. Some people looked at the clip and thought it was Lamar Jackson. That's how fast he looked. That's the kind of comparison that either makes you laugh it off or makes you sit up straight. Because when your name gets mentioned in the same breath as an MVP quarterback, that's not an accident. That's a signal.
Down, no, stop, stay.
Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, is going viral right now. Out there working on his speed. Look like that boy trying to run the 40-yard dash. I didn't know if that was Shedeur or Lamar Jackson. Look at here. Todd Monken, listen, you got a quarterback is putting that work in, and he's getting ready for training camp at the end of this month. July.
And for Shedeur, signals like that have followed him his whole life. Let's rewind for a second, because to understand why this moment matters, you have to understand where he's coming from. This isn't a kid who stumbled into the spotlight. This is a kid who was raised in it. Jackson State, Colorado, every snap under a microscope, every mistake magnified, every big father lurking in the background who happens to be one of the most polarizing figures in football history. Deion Sanders didn't just give his son a platform, he gave him a permanent audience, and permanent audiences don't forgive quietly. So when Shedeur declared for the draft, people didn't just evaluate his arm talent, they evaluated his last name. They picked apart his interviews. They dissected his confidence and called it arrogance. They watched him fall, round after round, team after team passing on him, and turned that slide into a spectacle. Cameras stayed on him in that draft room for hours, waiting, watching him wait. It became less about the game and more about the moment. How does a kid who's always been told he's special handle being told no again and again on national television? He didn't break. That's the part people forget.
That's Shedeur Sanders putting that work in, man. You got to be impressed with Shedeur Sanders and the way he's carrying himself right now as he continues to work out. He want to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He want to prove to them that he is their franchise quarterback. And also, this is not a shot to anyone who's been watching and following Shedeur Sanders' career. He always put that work in. He always been this type of player.
He landed in Cleveland, a franchise that hasn't had stability at quarterback in what feels like forever. And immediately, the noise didn't stop. It just changed shape. Now it wasn't about the draft. Now it was about whether he could even be QB1 on his own team. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. This year isn't just about talent. It's about opportunity, or the lack of it. Cleveland is sitting there with Deshaun Watson still on the roster, a name that once meant something in this league, now carrying more question marks than answers. Analysts who cover this team closely have been blunt about it. They've watched Watson snap after snap and come away unconvinced, saying flat out that the flashes are still there, but the overall picture hasn't changed. Not the movement, not the arm, same limitations they've pointed out camp after camp. And that's where the tension really lives, because if Watson isn't the guy, and more voices around this team are starting to say he isn't, then who is? There's only one answer that makes sense on paper: Shedeur Sanders. Not because everyone loves him, not because the doubters have gone quiet. They haven't. Some still think he talks too much, plays too loose, leans too hard into confidence that hasn't fully been earned at this level yet. But even people who don't believe in him are starting to admit something uncomfortable. Right now, on this roster, he's the only quarterback who gives this franchise an actual path forward. Not a guarantee of wins, just a chance, a reason to watch.
And listen, to the Dog Podcast talking about which one of these quarterbacks that they prefer to see for the Cleveland Browns. Dog Podcast.
There's only one quarterback it makes any sense to play this year, and it's Shedeur Sanders.
Thank you. What's the benefit long term for seeing any Deshaun Watson on the field? It doesn't make any sense.
And Zach Jackson has put this out there. He's like, guys, Deshaun does not look that good. There's a couple highlight throws.
That's the story of Shedeur Sanders in one sentence. A guy who splits a room every single time his name comes up and somehow keeps forcing the conversation anyway. If this story's pulling you in already, this is a good time to hit subscribe, because we're about to get into the part where things start turning in his favor. And trust me, you don't want to miss where this goes. Now here's where it gets interesting, because while the outside noise keeps arguing about whether he belongs, the inside story tells a completely different tale. People who've tracked his career from Jackson State all the way to Colorado keep saying the same thing. This is nothing new. He's always been this obsessive about the work. Long before this viral workout clip, long before anyone in Cleveland cared what he did in July, he was already known as a guy who treats off-seasons like auditions nobody else can see. And there's a pattern here that's almost eerie if you look closely. His second year at Jackson State, noticeably better. His second year at Colorado, noticeably better. So much better that it helped carry a teammate all the way to a Heisman Trophy. Year 2 has always been his turning point. Not year 1 when everyone's still adjusting. Year 2 when the game finally slows down for him. So now, heading into year 2 in the NFL, with a rebuilt offensive line in front of him, with better weapons finally surrounding him, with a new play caller in Todd Monken calling plays for the first time as a head coach, the pattern says something's coming. The history says don't be shocked if this is the year it clicks.
A beautiful thing, as Bucket always say. Now, let's switch over. Talk about Coach Prime and the Colorado football team. Look here. It's two players on the offensive side of Coach Prime, Colorado football team can make them better this year. Number one, if they stay healthy all through the season, and if they produce like I believe they will. It starts with the running back.
But here's the tension underneath all of that hope. Expectations in Cleveland aren't gentle. This isn't a market that waits patiently. Every incompletion becomes a headline. Every good practice rep becomes a highlight clip, picked apart frame by frame on social media. Every comparison to past Browns quarterbacks, and there have been a lot of forgettable ones, gets thrown at him before he's even played a full season. That's the environment he's stepping into. Pressure from a fan base starving for stability. Criticism from national voices who still see him as unproven. And quietly, competition from a veteran quarterback whose name alone still carries weight, even if the performance hasn't matched it in years. And yet, when you go back to that workout video, the one that started all of this, there's something almost symbolic about it. Late June, no cameras rolling for a broadcast, no preseason hype packages, just him, alone, running like the season already started. Training camp doesn't even open until July 28th, and he's already treating it like the games have begun. That's the mindset people keep circling back to. Not loud, not manufactured, just quietly relentless. So where does this leave us heading into the season? A young quarterback carrying a name that guarantees attention, whether he wants it or not. A locker room watching to see if he'll finally take firm control of that starting job. A city that's been burned before by quarterback promises that never delivered, now cautiously, carefully, allowing themselves to hope again.
Nobody's saying this fixes everything. Nobody's saying Cleveland suddenly becomes a contender overnight. But something shifts when a young player stops being just a storyline and starts being the actual answer. And right now, more people around this team are starting to believe that shift is happening in real time. Maybe that's why this moment hit different. Not because a workout clip is supposed to mean anything on its own, but because of everything stacked behind it. The draft night slide, the doubters, the family name that never let him breathe easy, the veteran competition standing in his way, and a pattern of growth that's followed him at every single stop of his career. Whatever happens this season, one thing already feels certain. Shedeur Sanders isn't chasing comfort. He never has. He's chasing the moment where nobody can argue anymore. And if history means anything at all, that moment might be closer than people think.